becoming a priest within a Christian church, this does not take into consideration the secret mind of the human. Why do I say this? Let's look at your average human's experience throughout their life. Within the mind of every single human being exists the secret mind. Now, the secret mind are those thoughts, feelings, emotions, and experiences which your average human being tends to suppress. So, for example, let's say if you observe what happens and runs through your own mind, you will observe an interesting things. Things come up such as anger, jealousy, revenge, hatred, obsession, desire, sexual thoughts, feelings of being superior, inferior, and the list goes on. Even if you look at what type of thoughts and experiences that move in the mind, you could even take that a step further when you look at what backchat comes up from within the mind. You could also look at reactions, energetic experiences, feelings, emotions, pictures that come up. So what does this tell us about the human experience? And this, you can go and you will interview every person on the planet, and you will see that if you were to sit with a human being for a day and actually walk the timeline of their life experiences, every single human will be able to describe to you what secret mind thoughts, pictures, and reactions have come up within their mind, which ones are more predominant, and which ones are more suppressed, meaning they might come up as a picture, or you come up an experience of, say, for example, anger or jealousy or moments of irritation come up within certain situations, but you tend to suppress them. Others, you allow them to come to the surface, and eventually this you call your personality. So every single human will differ with regards to what backchat thoughts you allow to come to the fore, which eventually becomes how you interact with your world and other people, and this is called personality. So say, for example, the one person might allow their backchat thoughts of irritation to come to the surface. They eventually grow up and into adulthood will develop a personality around them being short-tempered, irritable, fussy, full of nonsense, desiring only certain things over other things and getting angry if they don't get what they want, being pushy, being dominant over other people. So eventually this becomes the person's personality, and the people around that person will accept them for who they are. The next person, for example, a woman might be more promiscuous. She might according to society standards, have an attractive face or a pretty face and a nice body, and according to this, growing up, will adjust herself within her world to be slightly flirtatious, friendly, laughy, interacts with people, uses her body, uses her face. She's not shy. She likes to be the center of attention. Eventually, what happens there, as she has accepted and aligned herself to and as the secret mind thoughts that come up, such as, oh, talk to that person, get attention from that person, get that person to like me, be friendly, get that guy to look at you. As these secret mind thoughts are coming up every day, eventually directing this person towards developing physical behaviors around their backchat thoughts, eventually this becomes her personality. This is what she is known for. So those are just two examples of how one grows up accepting the thoughts that come up inside the mind as the backchat thoughts, pictures, reactions, feelings, and so forth, to become your physical behavior, which then becomes your personality. So bringing this back to spiritual leaders such as priests and so forth. Now, as I've just mentioned at the beginning of this interview, you can sit and you can interview every single person on this planet, and you will be able to draw a timeline of secret mind thoughts that are more predominant, that have become the person, and those that are suppressed and denied and frowned upon. Some people, depending on how you grow up, might allow more taboo secret mind thoughts to surface, meaning it might be different from household to household. For example, how sexuality is approached. In some families, it might be acceptable for the child to say, look, I'm homosexual or I'm lesbian, and the parents accept that. In others, it'll be an absolute disgrace, and the child might even be rejected out of the family or out of the community. So what is seen by some families as acceptable might be rejected by other families. Either way, you can trace within each family timeline, within each person's life timeline, what has been the predominant backchat thoughts that have come up, that have directed this person, what has been suppressed. And the interesting thing that you will find here is that existent within every single human mind, as the mind as we have accepted it to be, exists secret thoughts, desires, reactions. Okay? Now, people who are going into some kind of a religious standing, they are no different than every single other human being who you have just for yourself been able to trace and see that, look, there are secret backchat thoughts that come up that are existent within every single human being, and which at times will even direct human beings. If you look at your own life experience, what do you see? At times, you have had experiences come up inside of you that have told you how to be, what to do, and have directed your thinking, meaning you don't even know where your own thoughts come from. None of us have actually traced the thought to its origin. Humans tend to be directed by what comes up inside as thoughts, feelings, and emotions and reactions, and call them real. They will justify them as being, this is human nature. This is how God created me. Not actually looking at the design that is existent behind all our ugly, dark, little secrets and envy and thoughts about each other and, ourselves. So, in relation to people who become spiritual leaders, these are now the exact same human beings existent within the exact same mind patterns that you have just been able to see as existent within every single human being. And yet, it is acceptable for us as humanity to allow human beings to study, to become spiritual leaders, knowing now that there is something about the human mind that at its core is not being understood, at its core has not been researched by spiritual groups, by spiritual institutions. Not even your scientists and your philosophers have gone that deep, or have been able to go that deep to studying the human mind and where thoughts come from, where reactions and feelings come from. They will explain it away as, oh, it is your response to your environment. You're feeling envious of that person. It is a natural response to wanting to be better. Really? Should it be a natural response? So what I'm saying is, your religious leaders are so obsessed with creating ideas within human beings that there is an afterlife and a God and a Jesus, that they are not even willing to go to the core of the human mind and the human experience to purify the human. But instead, they will take the human as the blueprint as we have accepted ourselves to be. And what do? They send thousands of people a year to study to become priests. And these are the same humans that exist within the same mind designs as the next person on the street. And these are people that are going out and they are apparently becoming leaders for the rest of humanity without actual self-purification to know who you are, what are you actually teaching. Now, the mere fact that spirituality in itself is existent around making people have hope in these world times where instead of us taking action and changing the world according to actual mathematical equations which take everything and everyone into consideration to change the world for the better, instead of doing that, you have people turning to faith, which is useless time spent on belonging to a little religion so that you can feel better about yourself, so that you don't have to participate in taking responsibility for this world. And these are the world leaders that are being placed out there are your spiritual leaders and your political leaders who have not been purified, who have not walked through a process of getting to know thyself. You are basically placed into a system of education where you are taught knowledge and information from books, and then they become leaders. I mean, the news, if you were to go and look in the news and on the internet, there are thousands of stories of religious people that abuse. There are thousands of stories of priests who abuse, who molest. And I mean, this is just the stuff. I'm just presenting this as an example to show you that this is only the stuff that is shown in the news. This is not what is actually recordable as what is going through the priest's mind. And what is classic about that is that people will argue, oh, but a priest makes a decision to follow God and will therefore make the decision to suppress such dark thoughts. Really? Why are we suppressing dark thoughts? And why is the priest in such a comfortable position that he can suppress such thoughts? I mean, he is in a position where he can tell himself every day, don't worry, I'm the priest of a church, I have a roof over my head, I have food, I have people who follow me and listen to me every day, therefore I feel I have worth in life. I can afford to suppress these thoughts. How many people can actually in this world say that they are in the same position to be able to suppress these thoughts, which even the religious leaders don't know how the mind actually works? So the priest is fortunate enough, and those who follow Christianity and religion are fortunate enough to say, oh, they can just suppress their thoughts. They don't have to give in to that. How many people on this planet who are starving for and in survival every day can say the same thing? Eventually, if you place enough pressure on people due to the existing world systems and the money system, people snap and people let go of whatever morality they thought they had that was protecting them, and they lash out. They lash out and they abuse and they hurt, and not even to that physical extent. Everybody is just walking around looking out for their own self-interest. And everybody in their minds is having ugly thoughts of other people and themselves and their children and their family and society and the world. I mean, look at the Destiny haters that attack Destiny members, for example. They are the ones who have no actual insight. They have no practical solutions. They cannot even stand together as a group and create sustainable solutions that take all people into consideration, take into consideration nature, the animals, and so forth, to find one system that can sustain us and the future generations, that stops participating in abuse. They are the ones that are spewing abuse because they don't know what else to do, because that's what they've become. Those are their predominant backchat thoughts that have taken over, and they are now living that behavior, and now that's all they do. They spend night and day on their little computers spewing hate at other people. So they don't have a clue. Religious leaders don't have a clue. So in other words, we're looking here at re-educating everybody, but equally. I'm not saying re-educate priests and religious people to know how to deal with their thoughts either. That's separation. That is complete mind bullshit. Every single human can become a leader of themselves, therefore it can be equal and one amongst all of humanity. For a while, you will have a group of people who walk ahead and go, okay, we apply the tools, we see what is happening, we see what needs to be done. They will be the group that will grow in time, of people becoming self-responsible, of people placing the power back with self by applying tools of self-forgiveness, self-honesty. Then you will have eventually every single human being doing that for themselves. Therefore, humanity as a group becomes the solution, not some leader that is at the top. Leaders are only placed into these positions for a while to assist and support those who are now starting out doing it for themselves. That's the only reason why at Destiny, for example, we are forming structures and groups of people who assist and support others, and you could call this management groups, to keep everything according to the same principle. But we are working towards eventually expanding all the groups until it's the entire humanity is equal in one. That is what equality and oneness is, not being equal in one to some deity and some higher consciousness, and I'm equal in one to the source and the blah blah blah. No. Equal in one means eventually all of humanity is equal, meaning we all apply the same standards and principles within ourselves. We are all one because we are doing the same. We stand for the same, which is what is best for all. So that is my perspective with regards to taking into consideration religious leaders, political leaders, world leaders, people who apparently stand up for what they think is best, but they are doing so within a structure which is not best for all. It is only knowledge and information.